All right, it is 6:30 as the co-chair is not seeing a chair online yet. I know she's in Washington DC. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order and get started. Welcome. Would you? How's that? Very good. All right, so I know that Sarah's been texting me and we've been talking back and forth, so I know she's gonna pop up, and Jeffrey Rain should be popping up online as well. So let us know when they come in there. That's probably her texting me right now. It is. So we'll kind of do attendance. So I don't have an attendance thing with me, but I'll do this. Obviously, Commissioner Drive, Commissioner Swagger, Mr. Drake, Commissioner Barrett, Mr. Vick is here, Commissioner Black, Commissioner Bullard, Commissioner Chair Sarah. Oh yeah, Commissioner Scholl. Thank you. Commissioner Ward. Jeffrey, and that's it, right? That would be all of us. Those two are not present. Commissioner Mayor will be online, but we do have a quorum present, so we can make decisions tonight. Anybody have any issues with the approval of the minutes or make a motion to approve all the minutes from last meetings? So moved. Very good. Second. No other issues noted or discussion? Very good. We've approved the meeting minutes. The agenda tonight, obviously the big discussion on our agenda meeting is going to be the discussion for our final wrap up for the city council. We have to have that in. Am I still? Yes, I'll get there. I'm just going through the agenda review. We have to have that in, I believe, by 5 o'clock. Is that correct? By 1700 hours on Wednesday for that final presentation. All right. Note that in Mr. 5 o'clock, sorry. So that'll happen tonight. We're going to discuss some subcommittee recommendations, have probably an updated discussion on the Ray Mendoza event. Other than that, right, update the city council. That's what we're going to talk about, heart and soul. Subcommittees, if we need to update anything on that, and then the community survey of the city's discussion on its community survey. With that, I will open it up to public comment. Any public comment tonight?
I get a point of clarification first?
Yes, sir.
Is this the planning commission meeting?
No, sir.
It didn't look like it. It did. Okay. So our topic really would not apply to this. We had,
Community Trust Commission?
you have anything to do with the cell towers in Loveland in particular?
No.
Didn't look like the planning. So they're virtual tonight. Okay.
Oh, I live over there. I'm sure the 4-story.
What's that? St. Pat, I had a big picture.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, everybody take a look.
Thank you, though. I encourage you to go there. There's a thing, if you go onto the InsaWeb City website, that you can actually probably phone in. I don't know when that can still happen or not while you're here, but definitely get your voice heard. Yeah. Thanks for coming here, though. Seeing public comment dissipate. Do we have any online public comments?
Thank you. Users, if you would like to speak during public comment, please press *9 on your phone or choose the raise your hand feature. We do not have any users for public comment.
Okay, thank you. Sarah's having trouble signing on. And just to make a note, Commissioner Scholl and Hildebrand Shell arrived. I think Patrick's taking notes, so. And has Jeffrey popped on yet? Okay. Do what? Yes, if not, I am. And it's being recorded, yeah. All right. Discussion on the city's 2022 community survey. Mayor was supposed to do that. She's having trouble getting on, just so it's on public record. She's working through that. That's who my texts are coming through. So we'll jump into any discussions. Actually, that's gonna take up we'll move that if we need to down the agenda. So let's jump to, since those people are here, Commissioner Barrett, update on the accommodation for Ray Mendoza.
Where do we start? The statue is being engraved and the city has agreed to pay for it, yay. And the artist, Jane Dedecker, is going to, she's not going to be able to attend the ceremony, but she's going to write a paragraph and ask that someone read it at the ceremony, just describing how the trust piece was created and the intention that went into it and how it relates to what Mr. Mendoza did that day. And then we do have confirmation from Mayor Marsh that she will be there and she would love to say a few words. She will keep it short and sweet, she promises. And Interim Chief Steward will be there happily. And I've asked him if he wants to say anything. He says if we would like him to say something, he will. I said, if you're compelled to say something, that would be great. If not, I don't think that we should compel him, but that's my 2 cents. So I just wanted to throw out, should we ask him to please prepare a statement? And if so, how would you like to communicate that to him? Other than that, we are good to go for the 17th, somewhere between 3:10 and 3:20, as I understand.
So I'm gonna have a point of order because here Commissioner Shell's got some new information or something from an email that I forwarded today. Whatever one turns green.
Okay. Yeah, so I spoke with Caitlin, who is Heart and Soul's CEO, president, I don't know, whatever. But she's kind of the leader of the nonprofit. And she told me that right now we're slated from 3:07 to 3:17, give or take with the introductions. And she would, Heart and Soul would like us to forward like a basic script for each of the presenters. I spoke with Jackie Marsh too, and Jackie Marsh was like, I never use a script, or Mayor Marsh. So she would like us to forward her some speaking points, which I think we can do probably for all the presenters. And as far as I know, it would be Mayor Marsh, Chairperson Mayor from CTC, Ray, obviously, Mendoza. And I was hoping that Chief Stewart would. There was a concern that was raised. It's completely rumor. It's not confirmed at all. But there is a concern that there may be protesters or people who are not happy with the presentation possibly. And so Heart and Soul, and I believe CTC's whole intention was to keep it very positive, to really bring up and present the positives of what Ray Mendoza contributed to the community that day, the example he contributed. And so in that regards, I think it would be really helpful to have Chief Stewart speak, because I think it would keep it, he could really set that tone that this is something that the city wanted to participate in, and that it's not a negative on any side of our police department. It's just in response to a situation that happened that we all wanted to resolve and fix the areas that it brought up in our community. So anyways, that was, I believe, everything in the email.
It was, because I have
Okay.
just some clarification questions. So your subcommittee's been in contact with them, correct? Yeah. So they want 4 people to speak in 10 minutes?
Well, pretty much. That's kind of, so also with the intent of the celebration that they're doing, it's just to celebrate the Latin community, the
Right.
heritage. And it's really, the event is all entertainment. We're the only speaking portion of the 4 hours. So they do introductions, but they're not having a lot of speaking presentation from what Caitlin.
I think
informed
there
me.
is at least one speech.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, and I'm foggy there, but yeah.
okay.
And
It's at the Foot Lagoon. So here's my concerns as co-chair, and I was been talking back and forth with Sarah, so hopefully she gets her link to work, so she can pop online. It is concerning that they want 5 people to speak in 10 minutes, especially a mayor and a chair. Because the mayor, I mean, plus to give an award, you want to be able to give, right? The whole intention was to celebrate Mr. Mendoza, his actions that day, just, right? It didn't matter. We picked that because of how he fits into this celebration, correct? The other concern I have is if they have a concern of what we're gonna say, I'm assuming, is that why they want the scripts? And if there's even a inkling of a rumor on social media of protests, because your email made it sound like they were very concerned that they didn't want to put that heart and soul into a bad light with the city of Loveland. So those are my concerns from that email.
Right. It wasn't on social media that the concerns were raised. And really, Caitlin was just trying to prepare for the worst case scenario. So it doesn't need to be bigger than it is. I think she wanted to ensure that we were all on board with making it a very positive event. And because Heart and Soul and the city of Loveland's name is also involved in this celebration, we wanted to make sure it was a very cohesive, celebratory situation. This was just something that was raised as a concern that she just wanted to forward that on. It was not, nothing, it's a rumor, but she felt like we should be aware of the rumor and just make sure that we are very intentional about how we present our award. From the get-go, we knew it was going to be a very limited time. I felt like it was important to have the city's voice and the PD's voice in this presentation. I would almost prefer it for us to be a little more quiet than for the PD or the city to be. That piece is my personal piece.
I don't think, like I said, hopefully Sarah was working on that link there, Jeffrey. So we're talking about, we jumped down to the Heart and Soul event on our agenda, Jeffrey, just so you know where we're at. We're discussing the concerns. So hopefully if Sarah jumps on here, Commissioner, I'm the co-chair. Chair, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm on. I will be fully back in my hotel in like 2 minutes. So 2 minutes and I will sit down.
So I'm not gonna I can't speak for obviously Mayor Marsh or anybody else, but 5 people speaking in a 10-minute slot with those kind of credentials in my history of doing this is nearly impossible to tell everybody you have 2 minutes to say something nice about Mr. Mendoza. So I would suggest that if the CTC backs out of that Mayor Marsh and Interim Chief Stewart divide the time. They each get 5 minutes. They at least can say something. So that's fine. That's fine if that's the concern, because now, so here's where I'm at as a co-chair. I'll let Sarah, when she gets back to her hotel, pop in. Anybody else can have this discussion. Is my concern is that if we want to make this a celebratory big thing, we are now crushing it into a 5-minute here. Come up on the stage, shake your hand. Here's your award. Thank you very much. Boom, off you go. It's not ever the intentions, I thought, of the CTC was to make it like, woo, woo, Mr. Mendoza, you did amazing. We just happened to pick this event because it fit all the other stuff. And that's not, it's being squished. You see what I'm saying? That it's not going to be like this big hurrah that we all have in our head. It literally will be like music stops, somebody comes up, everybody talks for 1.5 minutes, blah, 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 we give them an award and moves on, and then the rest of the event goes on. Am I missing something in that?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I'm a member of Heart and Soul. So, and I've talked with Lynn Adame and a little bit with Caitlin, not much. And they're organized, pretty much. They
Very much.
had, I'm amazed that, to start off with, they were not sure that they wanted to include us. But there were several people who spoke up and it was like, yes, we really do want to do this. One of the things they did was that they decided that several of the people that they had kind of questions about in their participation, they decided they would wait and ask those people at a different time. So, yeah, there's a reason that squished, and just saying that this is about Ray Mendoza, and this is honoring that, and that's it. And Mayor Marsh, I think, indicated that she didn't want more than a minute. So
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we all understand there's 5 people in 10 minutes that they're asking. 5 important people.
yeah,
But Sarah can do the intro and read Decker's paragraph. So that's like a minute. Present the award. Mendoza can have 2 to 3, 2 to 4 minutes. The chief can have 1 and Mayor Marsh can have a couple, and that's still under 10 minutes. Realizing, yes, that's quick, but I wanted Mendoza and the award to be the highlight and
Yep.
take up the majority of the 10 minutes. Chief and Marsh. They need some speaking points. I'm sure we would have no problem giving that.
yes, Tara.
Commissioner Bear.
So, my thought is to have Mr. Mendoza speak last on this so that he does have the spotlight. So if Chair Meyer could go after, like Mayor Marsh goes first, says her really 1 minute. She has a couple of bullet points. If Chief Steward is not compelled to speak, his just being there on the platform is going to make the statement that we need to make, in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't think if he's not compelled to speak, I don't think that we should force him. And then it goes right to Chair Meyer, making the connection between our intention and the D. Decker Award, the way it looks, using D. Decker's words, and then to Ray Mendoza for the balance.
Okay, so if I have an order of operation on that, to send them, be able to send them a script, right? So if we kind of hear what you're saying, Chair Mayor would do the introduction. Give-
Mayor Marsh would lead with Stewart standing by her.
Right,
And then
right.
Mayor Marsh does
Lead with what?
presents the award.
So we don't want an introduction of the CTC, come up with this
Okay,
recommendation,
Sure.
and then turn it to mayor? Because that, like you said, I
Sure.
like your idea, that would take a minute. Is Sarah, you still around? Because I don't, Sarah
Yep,
won't.
listening, just about to get a video so y'all can see my smiling face.
Because I don't, like I said, I totally can't speak for, her. I just been in conversations with Chair Mayor that, she didn't want to give a 15-minute speech either.
No.
So just being able to introduce, hi, I'm the chair of the CTC. We come up with this award for this, turn it over to Mayor Marsh. Then Mayor Marsh can turn it over to Ray Mendoza. Everybody understands there's 10 minutes, right?
Right.
Yes, Michelle.
So, so my opinion is, Part of the rumor or whatever was also that Chief Stewart was reluctant to speak, which when we spoke with Chief Stewart, he seemed completely behind this presentation. And so I reiterated that to Caitlin, that as far as we're aware, Chief Stewart was on board, the city was on board.
Did your
All the
subcommittee talk to him
information we had, Aaron and I spoke with him.
The
about
award,
this,
yeah, and
about
I
being
did-
there?
I did as well.
Okay.
And the, the mayor is absolutely honored to be there, short and sweet. So is interim Chief Stewart.
Okay.
He will be there, absolutely. And he just needs to know what time. He's not sure he wants to say anything. That's all. But
So what I understood, is it that he doesn't know he wants to say anything, or was he wasn't sure what we wanted him to say?
he's
Because
not
that's
sure
what-
it's required. I mean, if we required him to say something, then and that's exactly what, if you need me to say something, I'll say something.
And I think we
And
need
what
him
I
to say
said
something
was,
as,
if you're not compelled to say something, we're okay if you're just standing there. If he's on the platform, that says volumes, that speaks volumes all by
so
itself.
as a
Because
member
you
of,
don't want to put words in someone's mouth that aren't theirs.
Right.
correct. As a member of the Latin community, I will tell you that one or two sentences will change the relationship that is addressed in the Jensen and Hughes report, that is addressed in the community survey, that is addressed in the CTC survey.
Right.
And I think it would go a long ways in achieving some of our goals. And I think asking him if he would be okay with saying what we come up would be more, if he doesn't feel like he can say what we would like him to say, then I think yeah, then don't say it. But if he's like, sure, I mean, everything he said to us in the interview, I
Right.
was
I'm
blown
fine
away.
with
So I
that.
was
I
like, if
just-
he could say that to us publicly, if
Since
he
you
could say
guys-
that to the community publicly, it would be
Right.
really awesome.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that whatsoever. So let's have your subcommittee reach back out, who's ever chair of your subcommittee, reach back out to him and tell
Was
him
that
he's
the
got a
Ray
minute and a
Mendoza
half.
Award Subcommittee or
The
the?
Ray Mendoza, who's ever doing the Ray
Or
Mendoza
the, because you
subcommittee.
guys are communication. I'm not sure.
So the Ray Mendoza Award Committee, and if you would like help from me, I would appreciate being looped in so that we're on the same page for, something that's coming up. Who is the chair of that? Okay, so if we could communicate with him together, that would be helpful. I tried to reach out to Jackie just to get a feel of what she wanted to say so that we would be all on the same page, and I've not heard back. The important thing to me is that we are a group of people speaking together. We chose to do this as a group. And it's not something that should be highly politicized. It's not an opportunity for anyone, in my opinion, to make this into a way to get more votes or a way to get anything. We're honoring a person who did a good thing. And I think that's what I'm trying to focus on. And I would like to speak to the other two so that I know where we're at and if we're comfortable being there. Again, we as a trust commission of 11 members now need to all be on the same page.
Yeah, so to bring you up to speed on the agenda, we jumped from the discussion because you couldn't log in down to the Ray Mendoza Heart and Soul event. So I kind of suggested an order of operations that you would introduce, so we have 5 people to speak in 10 minutes, basically. That you would just kind of do an introduction. This is the CTC. This is what we recommended. Turn it over to Mayor Marsh, who would have a couple minutes to speak. Do 1 minute, right? I would love to see a mayor speak for 1 minute.
Come on Saturday.
She could do it. She's a good one. All right.
Do it.
I just know.
And so
Maybe it's
can
just me.
Chief
All right.
Stewart if we don't put words
Yeah,
in his mouth.
Chief Stewart, if he he probably wants to speak for a minute, and then that leaves the rest for Mr. Mendoza. Everybody agree with that? Did you hear that, Chair
Well,
Sarah, Chair Mayor?
after the introduction, then Sarah, you would actually officially present the award, potentially with Jane D. Decker wants to write a paragraph about how the
Oh, yeah,
trust
there's a
statute
paragraph.
was created and the intention behind it. And if you would like to include some of her words in what you say, you could make that part of the official presentation to Mr. Mendoza. And then really the rest of it, Mr. Mendoza gets to speak about how he feels about what happened that day. And even though he was afraid, he did the right thing.
So,
And at
um,
this point, I'm turning the meeting back over to you now that you're here.
yeah, well, if you could help me while I continue getting all my stuff together. I got trapped downtown because my Lyft driver left me and then charged me money for it. So I don't know how this works, you guys. I'm small town. We don't have Lyft. Do we have Lyft? We have Uber. Anyways, I was trapped downtown, so I'm working really hard to get everything like organized real quick. So if I introduce and then hand it over and then hand it over and give the award, since we don't have Jane's paragraph that she'd like to say, it's hard for us to approve that as a group. So that's my concern there. We can have discussion about that if you'd like. Sorry, Catherine, did she say anything about exactly what she wants to say?
Yeah,
Can
it
you
would
release-
would just
yeah.
be a description of the intention behind the creation of the statute. That it's called trust because each member on the side of the statute is trusted to not let go and not let everything fall down. And she would just write something about like that. And
Okay,
then you would tie that into that day, we needed someone to step in and be the person who didn't let go, who did the right, stepped up to do the right thing.
I personally think that's good. Is there any more discussion on that? Does anybody have any concerns or thoughts on that? Please speak up.
Yeah, as long as it's to the statute.
Yeah.
Why she
To the
created the
statute.
statute, yeah.
Okay, cool. Like I said, I haven't heard back from Mayor Marsh. Is it discussion on that? On what we think she'll say,
I have
anything?
talked with Mayor Marsh and she will keep it, several of us, 5 of us, I think, have now talked to Mayor Marsh. We need a chair in every subcommittee going forward.
What?
Every 5 of us have talked to Mayor Marsh and she has told all of us, she has a few bullet points, short and sweet.
Did she say what those bullet points are? Because again, as a committee, we all need to be on the same page. It can't, our job is to create trust in the community. It's not to forward anybody's political career. Not that that's the case, but I'm just saying we should have some kind of information on that, or if we have, that'd be great to share.
Yeah, we'll get bullet points for Caitlin, which can be shared, but then how do we get, I guess if anybody had an objection, how would we handle that, not having a meeting between now and Saturday?
Hold that thought.
Thank you.
Hildebrand Shell, please. Voice.
I spoke with Mayor Marsh after I was told to reach out to Caitlin by the subcommittee. I reached out. She called me back on Sunday morning. After the discussion on Sunday morning, I reached out to the chair and to the other 2, and I'm sorry, I did not reach out to Drake, to forward on Heart and Soul's request regarding what we had asked her the first time. I'm not sure whose political career is at stake here because none of us are politicians. But and she had asked me to please get in touch with the people who were presenting, and then she raised her concerns. So it was Sunday morning. I didn't hear back from most everybody. So, but I did reach out I told Caitlin I would reach out to Mayor Marsh, and I asked her for the specific time that it would be showing because Chief Stewart had asked us specifically about that. And then, and that was it. And so I reached out to Marsh, forwarding on what Heart and Soul had asked for. And then I reached out to the members on the committee saying that this is what was asked for. And the chair. And then when Marsh called me back, and so she told me, she asked us in this meeting to come up with bullet speaking points for her. She told me she wanted to thank Mr. Mendoza for being courageous, for his integrity, for his bravery, and for speaking up about a situation he didn't feel was right, which is exactly what we had asked the city council to do. And she said that's all she was going to say, with a heartfelt, sincere thank you. And that was all that happened.
Copy that. Yes.
I really feel like at this stage of the game with this recognition for Ray, I feel like Heart and Soul, Marsh, the chief, our chair, Mendoza, there has to be an element of trust between all of us, that we're all on the same page and we all have the right intention, and that these people are going to stick to the intention and the speaking points that we talk to them about. And I think, I just feel like we need to kind of trust each other at this point, at this stage. And the amount of time Tara and I have spent upwards of 4 hours with the chief. And since these meetings, he has been gracious with his time, very generous, and he unequivocally is in support of this. I feel like we've established a pretty good relationship with him. I do feel that inside. And so I don't think it would be putting words in his mouth. I think he genuinely would want to know, just give me a couple, what are you looking for? I think he would be happy to say something, a 30-second something. And so, and we can say the very same thing that Mayor Marsh talked about with, I just want to thank him and we're in support of this and I'm happy to be here today. Done. But I really do think there's an element, we got to trust each other at this point a little bit, that we're all going to do what we said we were going to do with the right intentions.
Very good.
I agree. 100%.
All right, so, because I know our big discussion is going to be our CTC's final city council, so I want to make sure we.
1 minute, Jeffrey has his hand up.
Yes, Jeffrey.
Thanks. Yeah, and actually, I was going to jump in on something sort of similar that Commissioner Black was just talking about, which was I thought I had heard someone at the beginning of this discussion saying that Mayor Marsh wanted talking points, and I just wanted clarification if that's accurate or not. But either way, it maybe goes to Commissioner Black's point that probably all these speakers would appreciate these, and maybe it would alleviate any concerns that this group, everyone knows what's being discussed and in this meeting today, which is maybe your last one. I'm not sure. Commissioner Vick, sounds like you have something up your sleeve. That if that would make sense to have talking points, and maybe they're as simple as Commissioner Black just said. But just wanted to check, did Mayor Marsh ask for that? Whether or not she did, is that something that you all would be interested in providing to all the speakers?
So. Commissioner Shaw.
I just a quick comment. I'm happy with everything that's going on, so don't interpret this the wrong way, but I don't think it's really in our purview or would be a good idea to provide talking points to the mayor. And it's no disrespect to the mayor. I think I just don't think that that's really our job. I think if we put together a one-page bullet point of who we are, what we do, why we did it, why we took this, and then provide it to all the speakers equally and let them kind of speak as they see fit.
Yeah, I was just going to make that suggestion that.
And then that way, because I understand why Heart and Soul would want to have some kind of control over, but I think it's a little bit unreasonable. We can't, their speakers are going to say, hopefully, we're confident they're going to stay on theme or on message, but I just think I would just be nervous. So I just think And I'm okay with having the chair or with Commissioner Hildebrand Shell or anyone just do on behalf and not have to make a big production out of it. So that's my 2 cents.
So Chair, Mayor,
Just to
yeah.
run that by heart and soul before it gets.
Well, they
out
just
to
want
the
a script.
speakers, just so they know, this is what we gave them. And we're trusting that they're gonna.
Yeah, and she's not just trustful of us at all. I didn't want to communicate that.
No, I don't think
My
you have. We
communication skills are not the top notch.
just want to make sure that like we're all together.
Yeah,
So-
she just wanted to know the basic intent. Because, it is a celebration that she works really hard on, that Heart and Soul has worked very
Right.
hard on. And it's kind of their baby. And so she just wanted to be like, we want to make sure we're aligned, that like we all know each other's intents. And that I think she doesn't want to like a script. She was like, just a basic. So she kind of knew what was going on as well.
So here's my suggestion to that. I agree with Commissioner Scholl, Chair, Mayor. Since you're leading this off, do you want to create bullet points, which then the mayor can tag onto yours and Chief Stewart can tag onto yours? Their own words, but you at least have the bullet points and then you're in control of that. Does that sound?
So let's do this in a group manner. So I make a motion that I create a 1-page document that incorporates our goals and mission and how we see the award, or what we see of the award. And then we distribute that to Mayor Marsh and Chief Stewart. That way they know what we're going to be speaking about and what our goal is with this award. Again, it's free speech. We can't dictate what they say, but we have worked for an entire year to create something really good. And we should have at least some kind of definition of what we're doing. So the motion is, I will create a document that I will give to Mayor Marsh and Chief Stewart. And you guys trust me to create that.
And Ray Mendoza needs to be included. in
Yes.
on
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. Jeffrey, yes.
Sorry, just one thing. And also it sounded like that this document also served double duty to give Heart and Soul so they know that.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so create a document, but with the trust in me that, again, since we act as a group, we have to do this in a, in a meeting-like manner. So I need to know that you are all in consensus, that you trust me to create the document and give it out without everyone's input, since we don't have another meeting before then. So I move that I will create a document that will include all of the bullet points we have spoken about and give to Heart and Soul, Ray Mendoza, Mayor Marsh, and Chief Stewart. All in favor?
I'll second that.
Yeah, we need a
Or
second.
sorry, second, sorry.
I have one discussion point, Chair.
Please discuss.
When you send that out to Mayor Marsh and the chief, will you also invite him and welcome him
Yes.
to speak 30 seconds, 1 minute, based upon the page that you sent him? Can you make a
Yes.
request?
I can make a formal invitation. So again, I will amend the motion to include a formal invitation for Chief Stewart and Mayor Marsh as well, since we'll just include everybody. Formal invitation included for everyone. Any more discussion?
Yes, City Manager Adams.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I would say, don't be bashful. The mayor is speaking almost every day somewhere. It's hard to keep up with her sometimes, but so what she wants, and I can tell you this because we just had some work with her this weekend on Saturday, is she wants to know what it is you want to emphasize. And she's great about picking the words, but she doesn't want to then say it and then she hears it again and hears it again and hears it again. She's looking for what you want her to kind of speak about and give her a time limit. And if you do those
Right.
two things, she's good. And the same with the chief. I know he's anxious to participate in any way you want him to as a trust commission. You're presenting the ward, not the city, not the mayor. You are as trust commission, and he wants to support that however you want him to support it. So if you want him to speak, he's not at a loss for words. You just have to give him a time limit too, because you saw him here.
Yes.
Yeah. You didn't have 4
Right.
hours for nothing now,
So I amend my motion again to be more definitive in what we're asking with the bullet points. If you guys want to define exactly what we're asking, that'd be great. So we are not part of city council. We have excluded them from the commission. We have a final meeting next Tuesday. We know our city council is not always on the same page as each other. So inviting one member and then telling them we want them to speak on these points, I think could be taken poorly. What are your thoughts?
Commissioner Barrett has a comment for this discussion on this motion.
I
Please.
would love if Mayor Marsh and or interim chief steward would come up with a heartfelt, sincere, on one of the darkest days in Loveland's history, you, Mr. Mendoza, were the person on scene who did the right thing. And we're here to honor that today.
But we have to allow them to say what they want to say. I agree with that. That is amazing. And that's what we need from this. But they're individuals and they're speaking for themselves. They're not speaking for us. I will be the voice for us if we need, like, that is what my job is in this. We're inviting them to speak. So we got to keep that in mind. Tara, I see some hand motion happening.
Yeah, and I think like to be specific with Mayor Marsh, like even if Jackie or if, I'm sorry, Commissioner Barrett gave her that, she asked for bullet points because she does use her own words. Like we're not giving them, this is your script. The script is just an outline. It's not, it's our intention. And so it will be their own words.
No, that's
We're
fine.
not
That's what
giving
Sarah's
them
saying.
words. It's just the intention.
That's what Sarah's
so-
bullet points would be. This is what the intention is. Here's the bullet points.
Oh,
Say what you want within
then I
them.
misunderstood. what
But
she-
I'm just saying, I want to be very clear. We are speaking, the CTC is speaking for the CTC.
Correct.
We feel very strongly that Ray Mendoza deserves an award. He did the right thing. We're not saying Mayor Marsh thinks this or Chief Stewart thinks this. We are saying we, the CTC, have done this work and this is how we feel strongly. Right? Am I wrong? I don't know. I could be out of line and you can tell me I am out of line, but I just want to be very clear that we're not trying to put any words anywhere where they're not supposed to be. We're trying to say this was the right thing and this is what we expect citizens to be recognized for in our community, correct?
And to clarify,
Catherine, I see your hand up.
you would have that in your document, the words similar to what I just said. You would have
But-
words similar to that in your document that goes to them, that this is the CTC's position. We're giving this award because words similar to what I said, and then
Yes.
let them come up with their own.
Yes, I think we all believe that Chair Mayor can represent us well in that. So I have a second. Any more discussion?
Aaron's hand went up.
I just wanted to say, Chair, that you mentioned that the CDC didn't allow city council. That was in the ordinance. They set that up.
Yeah, they said that. We did not say that, but as a CTC, we are not,
I wanted to make sure.
yeah.
that,
No.
um,
They made sure that they separated themselves. So I want to make sure that we're clear that,
Why Jackie Marsh was invited because she's the mayor. It'd
Right,
been
mayor.
yes.
whoever was in the mayor position would have been invited. And I would imagine that if the mayor or the chief weren't in support, they would have declined.
Correct.
His personality type seems like he wouldn't have had a problem with declining if he wanted to.
So in the wording, I want to be clear that we invited them not as CTC, right? So that we don't goof on the ordinance. She's not speaking for all of city council. We just need to tread lightly. We have one more meeting. We've known how these have gone. We are speaking for ourselves because we worked hard. We trust this person. He did a very good job, but not because of anything else. So that's all. That's what I've been concerned about. I'm here in DC with a bunch of politician snakes. So I just am like, we have done such good work and I don't want to goof it up. So I want to make sure we're really covered.
I just had a follow-up or clarifying. I am sensitive to the optics or the politics of it, and I'm assuming that this is a public event, that all of the other 8 members of city council are free to attend and be supportive.
This is true.
and Show their, so I mean, it's not, is the kind of titular head of the city, I mean, is the mayor, we defer to her, which is, I think, protocol. So, I mean, I'm fine, you know, I just, as long as it's clear that they are free to attend. And
Oh,
be
yeah.
supportive,
Yeah, it's a public wide. It's in fact advertised.
It would be great if
Widely.
they all attended.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be, I mean, not all speak. We need more than 10 minutes, but yeah, I would.
Okay, so,
So we're up for a vote. Sounds
All
like
right.
the discussion has come to an end.
yes, any more discussion? So we're voting on allowing me to create a bullet pointed document that will be shared with an invitation to Mayor Marsh and Chief Stewart and Ray Mendoza before the 17th. I will try to get that done on Wednesday. All in favor of allowing that to happen, please raise your hand. And if Shane, if you could help me,
1, 2,
that'd be great.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's unanimous here.
Awesome. All right, then it passes. Thank you guys for the trust in me. Shane, will you continue on the meeting?
Did you say you wanted me to continue on with the meeting?
If you can continue on the agenda, that'd be great, because I can't pull it. I'm just having technical issues.
We're gonna go back to the one we skipped, which would be the city survey results, which has your name on it.
All right, so city survey results, let me try to pull them up. They were given to us today. I guess let's start it out super quick and simple. Do we feel that these are necessary to complete our report? Discussion, please.
Commissioner Baird.
The only thing I wanted from the city survey were 2 things. I wanted to know the number of people who responded, which it looks like it was somewhere in the 600s, 620 something, 640 something. And the whatever they decided was, I mean, did they trust, basically, did they trust the city, or was there a level of distrust communicated there? And that's it. I don't think that we need to incorporate anything from that. What I want to be able to do is just when somebody says, well, you only had 544 results. Well, yeah, we got those for free by doing volunteer work and reaching out to the community in all 4 wards. You got 600 something results, spending how many thousands of dollars? And so, yeah, it's, you know, neither one is considered statistically relevant if you're going to go buy the book, but this is the community's voice and we need to listen to it.
All right, Jeffrey, I might need your assistance here. So we have a lot of conversation to have about our report. Instead of going point by point and saying, do we need to vote on this? Let's make an amendment that if you have something either strongly opposing or strongly agreeing with the person who's brought up a point, please speak on that point. I don't know that we need votes unless it's crazy opposition but I think we can discuss this together and then come up with amendments and just keep rolling. So Catherine, what I'm hearing is that you're saying you would like some of the city results to be included, just that trust question, and to say, here's how many answers you got. And we can make that like 2 sentences and say, CTC survey did this, city survey did this. Is that correct? Jeffrey, sorry.
I was just going to confirm if folks have had a chance to see the draft report. We do have a section on there that has the community survey in there. This would be an easy thing if the CTC agrees today to add a summary of the relevant information from the survey. We could put that into that section.
Do we need a summary of the survey?
And I guess just to be clear, when I say summary, I don't mean of the whole thing, but to the points.
The trust questions.
Yeah, numbers and trust questions.
Aaron?
Well, there's some relevant data in this survey results. And some of that is treating residents with respect, being honest, overall confidence in Loveland government, being open and transparent to the public. All of those are on the lower end. That's relevant to our final report and backs up our community survey results and some of the things that we found. Under police services, rate how safe and unsafe you feel, that's much lower. That's the data that came back from that. Taking care of our vulnerable residents, that came out really low. And raw verbatim comments over and over and over supported also what we heard in our community survey results in the raw comments. And so I do think a nice little, quick little paragraph that this completely backed up everything that we saw in our survey and what, so I think that'd be a good idea to add.
All right, so like a one paragraph summary of the community survey is what I'm hearing. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add to that?
Tara has her
can't-
hand up.
Tara, please.
Deliberation show. Sounds so official.
So I am in full agreement with Erin, because when I read through, I was like, oh, we should be proud of our little community survey, because it really did kind of match up. I think we had more negative comments maybe than the mailed-in comments may have had. And they addressed that in their survey as well, that the online had a little more negative than the mailed-in comments did. But it went right in line, like I felt a little more confident about our survey. And then also, I thought it was really interesting in one section, it talked about where the community gets community news. And overwhelmingly, it was the newsletter and the website. And pretty much those were the two main conduits of communicating with the community. And so I felt like that was kind of relevant to like some of the recommendations we made about, specifically, I knew it because of the website. But so I felt like it gave some relevance to some of the, so if we could just list it as a reference point to kind of underline some of those recommendations, that it helps to
So I
validate.
suggest to add that into our appendix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's all I would add.
Cool. No, that's great. So I'm hearing like generally include, yes, we can include a paragraph. Does anyone have any opposition to including a summary of the community survey?
I,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
in a sense, I do object simply because I think that was emailed out to us today. Is that correct? I was
Yes.
not able to receive it. So
The survey results?
the survey
Okay.
results, I haven't seen them because it does not come through on my device.
Nice.
So that's serious. And so I would like, I don't know, but I think more than just a brief summary. I think it's, so if that's this, if what you have there is the summary, I think, by the way, this is, why not add that to the end of our report?
So it would be added their survey results would be added into our appendix of
Okay.
links that they
Okay,
can click on and see.
okay.
Because
got
so
it.
here's my thoughts on that, and Commissioner Dreyfus will go next. Is that, because it's not our survey, it's the city survey. So we don't want to confuse it that like the CTC did. We don't want to take credit for something we didn't do. But I do believe everybody else's point that a paragraph that says, hey, please see appendix EFG, it does back up what our survey also says. So Commissioner Dreyfus.
Yes, I think Commissioner Schweiger was before me. She had her hand up first.
You yield
So
your
I
time to
yield
Commissioner
to-
Schweiger.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I have been reading the conclusion, and I don't know if like this is the only conclusion on the city survey. But somehow, and I don't know how, but when I was reading through the survey, I found that the conclusion that there is not a great deal of trust. There is less trust in the police and the city government and our elected officials. and maybe somehow we could address that. As a community member, I want to know that my city, my police department, my elected officials realize that there's a lot of us that maybe don't have a great deal of trust in them.
Well, that could probably, well, I'll let Sarah, Chair Mayor, speak to that. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to see if I could pull up the slides later for sharing, because I could share from my screen potentially. So what I'm getting from that is that including in the summary that you'll want more of a conclusion from not a conclusion. Just you'll want us to summarize what we're seeing in the trust questions. Is that correct?
I want the police and the city and our elected officials to know that they still have work to do.
Oh, that, yeah,
Okay, yeah, I mean, hopefully our recommendations that we've already agreed upon reflect that. So let's pause this conversation and let's go through our recommendations in the report if we can, and see if that does reflect what we've been talking about so that we can.
Commissioner Drive had one comment before.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Dreith, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. My whole concern here is that we did our work, we got our results. They came afterwards, they come up with their results. I'm glad they correlate with ours, but I want to make sure however we say it, do it. We don't give the city any credit or any way that they can water down our efforts, because it was us that started this. Maybe
Right.
they had it in the plan before, but we were the initiating factor. I want to make sure that we don't get watered down or overlooked for that. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Dreith, and I think we can incorporate that because we were able to speak with Nicole Yost. Am I correct, Catherine, on that, Barrett? To help create and kind of direct those questions. So we can mention that specifically that, hey, also our work here was able to be incorporated within the city's own survey. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. So would that be all right with you, Commissioner Dreith?
But and specifically
Right.
what she did was she asked us if we wanted a trust commission or a trust question in the city survey. And we said, sure. So that, I mean, that's the extent of that. I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for there, but.
I mean, just a mention of that, I think is helpful to say that we are doing work, right? I don't know. That's me personally speaking. So Commission, speak up, please.
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Point of order, we are going to combine on the agenda, so it's in the official, the
Got it.
presentation of the city council preparation for that and the community survey. We just kind of mash those two together.
cool.
So for the next hour and 2 minutes, we'll talk about the preparation for the CTC's final update city council.
All right. Was everyone able to see the,
Two questions are existing.
all right, sorry.
Commissioner Black.
Commissioner Bullard, so would you want to request that some city staffer print out the community survey so that you can have a full copy of that?
Thank you. If they would send it in a different form, I don't,
Okay, because
That's-
I want to make sure that you have that, whether it's one of us print that or city staff print that. I want to make sure that you have a chance.
Yeah.
Mr. Adams, thank you
Dun,
so
dun, dun.
much.
Do you want to ask your questions, Commissioner?
Let me ask my question while I'm putting together
Yeah,
a
Manager.
packet of information. So just to keep in mind, this survey is going to be presented third on the agenda. I've got another energy resource item second and you're first. So this is the packet for this particular item. So it is coming that night also. So you can reference in the documents you prepare, that's fine, but it's also going to be part of the packet that night.
Yeah, so it makes sense to put that paragraph.
Commissioner Barrett?
I was inviting Catherine to tea and I'll make her a copy.
Okay, it's just some, so, city council then, city manager, city council has not seen the report yet, is what I'm catching.
Hang on, they,
They'll print me a new one later, so we'll get yours. for
City
you
Manager
tonight.
Adams gave Commissioner Bullard a full copy of the.
That was
city-
nice.
Yes.
But city manager, so council has not seen the report yet.
They have. It was published last
Okay.
Thursday. So
Well,
that's why
perfect.
I said twice here in meetings that the reason this was exciting for us is on the 8th, which is last Thursday, we would publish the packet, which had all of our information in it, so it'd be available to the Trust Commission.
So they will see it tomorrow and then we can reference
they'll
it.
be-
It won't
they've
be
seen it
something brand new. Okay,
in-
cool.
in the
Cool.
packet, the city council packet, but they will be presented by Nicole and the team that's coming from Polco, the survey company that we had for this process. So that's
Awesome.
after years. It's after years. You're first.
Cool. All right, so we can make reference to it and mention that we worked with Nicole and the city to create that trust question. So then moving on,
Verify too, everybody has read the
yes,
final presentation that Patrick put out.
Yep.
And looked at, okay.
And one other thing, I talked to Nicole tonight. If anybody has any questions about the survey, please call her. She said she'd be happy to answer any questions you may have as you're putting things together.
All right.
awesome.
Sounds like everybody's at least seen it. Read it.
Shane, do you have it with you?
I do not.
Okay, I'll go through it. I'm gonna pull it
Can
up
we
right now.
Screen share it, Jeffrey, or?
Yeah,
I can, excuse me, I can screen share. Do you want to look at the report or the slide deck?
let's do the report, please. We'll just go, if we can go like page by page and see if anyone has any issues or things they would like to add. Let's just do it that way, because there's like 45 pages, so we need to go quickly. We'll just skim them. If you see a place where we're lacking, let us know. If you're opposed, let us know and we'll have discussion then. But if just hopefully Jeffrey can share his screen. Oh, there we go.
Okay, you tell me where you want to go.
All right, so we have this cool table of contents at the beginning to hopefully direct council where they're looking. It's awesome. It's even color coded. We have an introduction, if you'll all read that real quick, and then let me know if there's anything that we're missing, again, lacking or disagreement with.
First,
Probably have the same.
right, I'll go with Commissioner Barrett. She got her hand up 30 seconds.
There
before.
was also the presentation or the volunteer who attended the library.
Oh, yes, we can add that.
Need to add
So let me get my notebook over. Yeah.
a table at the library.
All right.
My,
Commissioner.
On it.
am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. My situation is that both Commissioner Dreith and I are still here and we were the alternates. And
Yes.
so it says 16 members. It doesn't say 2 alternates. I would like to be included
Okay.
at that point.
All right, so if it says the CTC met for the first time on October 25th as a 16-member commission with 2 alternates, volunteers with 2 alternates, does that work for you guys?
Yes, and then then
Okay.
there's something under the picture too, the caption under the picture, I think says 16.
Okay, yeah. That, we can edit that as well. Jeffrey's on it. Catherine, I saw you had sent an email. And that was about the library as well, correct?
Yeah, there's.
Sorry.
I'll make
Here
as
it is.
when we get there.
Got it. Thank you.
Make them up front. Okay.
Perfect. So anything else right here? All right, good stuff. So in this section, we'll add about the community survey, a little blurb. And do you guys trust us to do that ourselves or do that without a meeting?
Commissioner or Chair, Mayor and I have been in contact back and forth, met with Patrick, all that stuff to get all this. Jeffrey and Patrick are amazing people, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
I would like to say I don't spell well either, and they put up with that. so.
There is a
yes.
proofreading needed still.
Yeah, it's not finished. It's not finalized. Hopefully you trust us to go through and read and make all the final edits. So anything on this page? We're gonna add the library, right? Is this where it goes? And
Where is that?
yes, right in there, including Loveland's Farmers Markets, the Loveland Justice League, the library. Am I correct, Commissioner Barrett?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. The survey results, I know last time we weren't able to share them. So I'm really looking forward to sharing them this time. We'll see how that goes, but I think it's a great little image there. All right, anything else on this page?
Nope, we can move on.
Okay. Some of the recommendation language got edited, just to be maybe more clear reading. So please, if you can, read that language and make sure that the meaning is still what you were going for. Yeah, subcommittees. All right, so anything here?
I don't see any hands or any discussion.
On the
Awesome.
on the recommendations, I do have, but that is several pages later. I think it's number 1.19.
All right, when we get there, will you please speak up at that point? Cool. All right, carry on. What I really like, and I want to point out, is that each subject gets a color and a image, which I think is cool.
Beautiful presentation, by the way. Bravo.
This is Patrick.
Yeah, this.
Patrick is amazing. Okay. Anything on this page though?
Yep, Commissioner Scholl has something.
Commissioner Scholl?
I just real quick, I actually think that particularly 1.1 and is really important, and I'd like to have some time frame put in place. Just for
Okay.
accountability's sake, just because it's like, I just think that if we say, maybe not 1 point, but I mean, even in the first paragraph, if they like adopt these recommendations or at least consider them within a period of time, you know, I just don't want to leave it. I'd like to have some.
What's your suggestion for a period of time?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, I think that they should, I mean, the recommendations regarding the Pcap, I think the fact that they haven't taken that up and done that yet, I think is really, I find very disappointing.
Right.
It's really not that hard to do. I mean, and so, and I think if you're talking about citizen engagement, I mean, that's the citizen kind of level with the police department. I think it's something that they should do. And so I would say that they take them up, you know, within, I mean, I think they should have it within 6 months and have at least something done within like 12 months. So, but I mean, I think I'm.
Commissioner Drythe, have a comment to that?
Yeah, I think a year is way too long. They've already had this report, the Jensen Hughes report, for 9 months now since it's came out. I would have expected the committees and the boards, whatever was named in the Jensen Hughes, to have started work, not to sit back and wait, oh, maybe the Trust Commission will come up with something for us to do. That's not our job. They should be working on this from day one. So I would say a much shorter time frame.
Can I pause 1 second? So Commissioner Black and I worked on this, and we did speak about timeliness of these things for specifically the implementation plan. Commissioner Black, I don't remember if that was part of one of our recommendations. I know we spoke on it. I just want to clarify that quickly before did we do that?
I think there was only one thing that we put a specific, and that was the responder program coming up with.
Okay, great.
That was
So-
taken care of within a year, but I don't think you and I put, but I
Got it.
completely support that.
Yeah, so I know we spoke about it. That's why I just wanted to clarify. So in the paragraph up there, I feel like, so let's quickly run through, let's pause on this for a second. Everybody, please run through the recommendations, because I think a lot of them could be on a similar timeline. So if you'll read through them quickly, and then we can discuss a timeline.
I just have, can I?
Yeah,
speak
please.
up? Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
So during our 4-hour meetings, Chief Steward, there are some plans that they have to have the chief hired on for.
Okay.
So there were parts of the plan that needed the actual chief of police to instigate or to implement. And so when we make these, like, some of them can be, I think, implemented right away, and others will have to wait until the chief is hired.
Well, and
Tara,
some of them had to do,
Can,
sorry, Chair.
no, it's good. It's good. Sorry. I'm sorry I'm not in the room with you guys. But can we direct this really quick to city manager? City manager, can you speak on this and let us know if there's something specifically we can't act on or something we should act on?
So thank you, Madam Chair. The point I'd make is on October 11th, we're bringing this implementation plan to the city council. So as we pointed out in this document, there are things that are already completed from the plan. Those were marked in green and are already finished. Yellow are some that are in progress, and a lot of those you have here. And then there are some that were marked red, which were delayed for the new chief. So as far as a plan goes, we'll be giving council more information on that on October 11th. As far as implementation, what our plan is. Some of it's dependent on budget in some cases. Some of it's policy that's in play and in writing right now being written on. And some things will take work from a new chief to help us get done. So we're planning to kind of parse those out at our presentation on October 11th. And we'll have an update to what you all have seen, because you should see his chief's copy after your meeting. So I can barely read the writing anymore, but so that's why we wanted the feedback, so that's the kind of thing we'll be coming forward to council with, is the recommendations, the things you had. So
Commissioner Scholl, do you have anything, any direction for us, please?
Well, and this is just a suggestion, but I do think that reforming the Pcap and creating kind of more, focusing on kind of the membership, the rule, the whole reforming of that board, I think should be done immediately. I just think that's kind of, if to my read, and I think I've said this before, but if they were functioned the way they should have been intended, there would have been no need for a community trust commission, as it relates to Karen Garner, because they would have been the community. So I think that, and I don't know, I don't have in front of me the Jensen Hughes to know what 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, or 5.4 specifically what they address. But I think, if anything, I think they need to take up the 1.1. I think I would just like to say immediately, or as soon as something, but.
Does anyone have any support or opposition? Aaron, I see your hand up. I can't see anybody else, so.
Commissioner Barrett does.
Oh, sorry. Who was first?
So I think I was,
Sure,
but in the ordinance that created this body, it says that the ordinance is necessary, and that it requires immediate action to limit the damage to the community's trust and confidence in its local government, to mitigate the economic damage related to the perception of the events that landed us in the mud on national news. It doesn't say that, and to address concerns about the responsiveness of local government. Maybe you could add some of that to your and I'm speaking to city manager, to your presentation to council. Just reiterate that ordinance to us. This is immediate.
Commissioner Barrett, would you be in support of adding those words to anywhere else in our document?
Just right after the first part of the recommendations, before you go into the specifics, recommendations to city council, and then right before that last sentence.
So up a page, correct?
What page am I on here?
Right here, yes.
Tiny. 5, yes, 5. Right in page 5.
Yeah, that would would that satisfy Commissioner Scholl? Like, because it says immediate. These recommendations should be done immediately. Because we're just making recommendations.
Commissioner Scholl, would you please turn on your mic? I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yes, I think I'm fine with that. I would make kind of a very small is that under 1.1, it says accept and implement the recommendations regarding the Pcap immediately. Just
Okay.
give me an additional immediately, I think would be, and I would be, I'll
Cool.
yield my.
So if we add it up here where it says recommendations, add that language of the ordinance and then reiterate it again.
On
I think
1.1.
I also am in agreement with that. Yeah. For the Pcap. Does anybody else have any strong feelings? Or feelings? They don't have to be strong. No? All right, well, let's carry on down. So this is how we're running each of the recommendation groups. And then we have at the end an appendix. And then I asked, and I don't know how many we received because some people respond directly to Jeffrey and some respond to me and Jeffrey. If you have supporting documents, I'd love to share the hyperlink. If you have like a website and on page or a PDF and on page like 37, there's a really great graphic that you were referencing. Just put that in little quotes, or what are these called, brackets, so that we can specifically point council in that direction. All right, any thoughts on this page? Continuing on with the recommendations for the LPD.
I'm not seeing it, but 1.19, 19.
1.19, yep, right. So require LPD to deliver quarterly updates on its implementation plan and require that these updates be made available online to the public, that they include timeframes and additional information if benchmarks are not met, and that community members be given the opportunity to weigh in as updates are given.
It's not clear who the updates are to, so I would add updates to city council.
Okay. Any more discussion on that? Great.
Just add to the public and city council.
There's an updates and then to city council and then the rest of it.
Okay. All right, any other feelings on this page?
Yes, I kind of do.
Okay.
And that would be a new, it would be a 1.25. Because since we will never see the IA report and there's nothing about anybody else seeing it, I would like to say to appoint something to the effect of, to appoint a new committee to study the IA report and report to the city council and the public.
Discussion, please. None?
No,
Well, I'm
Cherish
not-
now.
I hadn't thought this, so I'm trying to process it really quick. But I know in the community engagement piece, I had also addressed the IA report in a different way, because I didn't recommend a board, but it was recommended that they communicate with the community what the results were and what their actions would be, and then just creating that feedback loop that we kind of keep talking about, so that the community can also have input, or, you know what I mean, or responses that can be addressed. But I hadn't even thought of.
So can we, just for Commissioner Bullard's sake, instead of adding a 1.25 yet, make a note of it, Jeffrey? When we get down to her section, you want to see what the wording is to see if it is.
Okay, I did see that and I thought, okay, but let's do specifics.
6. Okay.
So
I'll have something.
let's get there and then let's come back to it. Because I have some thoughts on that as well, but let's just see how Tara worded it and then we can wordsmith together.
Commissioner Scholl has a comment.
Oh, Commissioner Scholl.
I'm kind of reluctant to kind of recommend forming another commission or something. For that
Yeah, I
specific,
get that.
but what I was going to say is I understand the intent, and I want to honor the intent, because I do think it's important, and that's why I think if we I mean, and that's why go back to my earlier point about Pcap. I mean, if that's the Police Citizens Advisory Board, it should be released to them. It should be made available, and that should be the body or the institution, the public institution that addresses these issues going forward. I think from a position of that's empowered. So I mean, like I said, I mean, I honor your intent. I'm not sure that I agree with having a commission, but I'm okay for
So
move on to the discussion.
if we say compel the city attorney to release Karen Gardner internal investigation report to the public and Pcap, or somewhere in there. Am I not catching
And
that?
what about empowering the PCAB to review the report and make recommendations as to the sufficiency of that report?
Well, I wouldn't want that until PCAB was revamped.
All right, let's hold on it. Let's see what else we have and we'll come back to it. All right, so number 2 was co-responders. See, they have the heart, cute little icon. I don't know why I love these so much, but I love them.
I have one. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I just, I think this is really good. The one thing that I have is if we could provide a definition of the police first model, because I think most people in the community are going to read that and they're going to think, what do you mean you're not putting police first?
Okay, so we
But I think it should be even that there's like a box that like just the information, just so, because I'm just a suggestion, because I think it's not a point that everyone will understand immediately. And
I think that's good. And I think that we have included a link for that. And maybe there's a good graphic that we could use.
We included links to other community first models, but
Okay.
I see what Commissioner Scholl's saying, like
Yeah.
2.1 box, just to say something, right? Remove the current police first model, which is just a quick definition, which is sending police officers first to a mental health crisis versus mental health crisis people, or something to that effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Anybody have any opposition to that?
Right.
Cool. All right.
Right.
We're on it.
No, I don't have opposition, but I'm
Yes.
thinking, rather than saying remove the current police first model, just replace the current police first model, which is
Yeah.
to send police first, with a more community-based model that would include crisis counselors to be
That
deployed
should be farther down.
first.
I think that it does say that further down in the, right, because I know that we included that in there.
But rather
our
than
community.
remove, because remove, yeah, I'd like replace it with something, because remove to me says defund all over the place.
Okay, so we'll look into amending that. Let's keep reading and then see if that point comes up so we can maybe swap the order or figure that out.
You good?
Yeah, yes,
Word
please.
Remove and put replace.
I think we can keep adding words. And one of the things I like about it is the briefness of a lot of the statements.
Yeah.
So I would say, I would vote for replace and then add the definition, and, that's enough for right there.
Okay,
Commissioner Drake has a comment.
sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, thank you.
Instead of reiterating all the sub things, what can we just reference C appendix to it? Because it's already there.
To what specific
Oh.
point?
We're talking about adding up there the specific definition of something, of the police first thing. We've already have it referenced in the appendix. Why can't we just say,
I think, yeah, I totally see what you're saying. I think it's just a first reaction because a lot of that,
it,
does the city
Instead
council
of
know what a police first model is?
restating the whole file or the link there, you could just say C appendix for specific definition or something. That's all. Thank you.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, something short, very sweet, because to Commissioner Dreiss, we don't want to repeat ourselves multiple times.
And also, the report looks great as it is, and keeping it clean, concise, easy to read. Okay, we'll just pause here because I was gonna say this at the end. I am so proud of us. We've come, like, look at this. This is a report with recommendations that are specific. We kicked so much butt. And just making sure that they see the work that we've done in a clean and concise manner. Like this is awesome. This is exactly what we need. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but that's why we're going through it to fix it. I don't know. I like what we've done. So anyways, carry on, keep going.
Okay. I'm raising my hand.
Please speak, please
You
speak.
can see me so well. So obviously, I totally misunderstood my communication piece because I don't know why I did this. I put the co-responder program also in the public engagement.
Yeah.
Is it, okay. But also one of the big things I was just a little bit different on was that, sorry, I included like community members, like residents who, because I think sometimes when it's your kid or you that's in the system, sometimes you see it from a different perspective than maybe the EMS or the police, or you know what I mean? The professionals. And so when you were talking about establishing a committee of stakeholders, I wasn't sure if it would be appropriate to put residents in that space or to leave it in the public engagement recommendation.
Well, I really think that kind of, it crosses both sides, community engagement with that. And I do believe people with lived experience should absolutely be part of that stakeholder committee. Hear from them, but I do feel like that is part of community engagement, that piece. I mean, I don't know how everybody else.
Would you? Commissioners, hang on, Commissioner Schweiger, let me throw stuff. I'm getting violent.
I don't know if this is the place for this, but in the co-responder program where it says decrease the use of jail and ED, I think a lot of people won't know what ED means.
So that was up a page, correct?
Yeah, just to spell out emergency department instead of ED.
I would say spell it out.
What is this acronym?
So the recommendation to have a definition for ED and the second paragraph there.
Mhm.
Or yeah, just a definition to say emergency department, I think.
Yeah, instead of just saying ED, just spell the whole word out.
Okay. All right, so on communication and engagement, is there any more discussion?
Communications and engagement?
Did we move? Yeah, we moved on from
We
co-responder.
we moved on and then we pop back up and then we pop back down. So
Okay, so we're back to communication.
back here,
which
yes.
I believe Commissioner Barrett has
Okay.
some
So
suggestions.
my only question on 3.7, I'm not familiar with the CSU model for public deliberation, but we currently use, and I apologize, I cannot remember the name of it, Harwood.
yeah.
What would be the difference between those two? And I'd like to ask city manager if he's familiar with both and has any opinion about which one would be better. Why would we change that from Harwood?
City manager, I can't see you, but feel free to speak.
I'm afraid to see the commissioners are ready to speak first, but
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
familiar with both models. We've used Martina in a couple of different projects we've done too. The idea was we wanted to develop some capacity within our own city. So we could do it not only for ourselves, but other community projects, which we've used on several different areas now. So we are looking at using Martina on another area here coming up soon. So we're not opposed to those, but we still want to continue to use our own staff as appropriate. Sometimes when we get a bigger group, we need to use Martina instead of us because we don't have enough facilitators.
Thank you.
On 3.7, then could we amend it to say, develop library listening sessions to better reflect the models used by Colorado State and the Harwood Institute? I can't see you, so yes, please.
Hildebrand Shell Commissioner has. a
So
comment.
when I was writing these up, Aaron is really adept at these models and has worked with them. And so when we were talking to the chief, there were a couple things that came up that he raised some concerns. And Aaron, so that's what I was trying to get at. And that's why I put contact Aaron Black. Because I also needed to contact Aaron Black to specify exactly what we were asking for. So it's totally legitimate. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, and we definitely want to take that off at the end, contact me. But in speaking with the chief and how the library session, listening session went with the PD a few months back at the library, I just envisioned that going a little bit differently. The chief spoke, assistant Lori Scott spoke, and then they were asked to leave the room. And I'm in complete disagreement of that. That's not how I would envision another listening session happening. I would envision they're all sitting among each other at the tables, and they definitely don't speak at and leave. They stay and they converse together. And so I just envision those happening a little bit differently in the future. And so did interim chief Stewart. He was like, he felt really weird and awkward leaving also. He would have preferred to stay in that room. And so I just see those happening a little bit differently, whether that's more on the Center for Public Deliberation, or if it's the Harwood model, but we just talk with the staff at the library for future ones about how that's going to look a little bit different than how it was done the first time. That was the only thing. Like,
Can we amend that then to say like develop library listening sessions that incorporate the correct model for the situation? I don't know how to better word that, but
Appropriate model.
Clarification, does the Harwood model and the CSU model ask them to leave?
no, so that's
Oh.
not a model thing. That was, I guess, just
A
what
moderator
library-
thing?
A moderator thing. And that's why I would love to be part of the next one that's set up because I really don't feel like we should have PD ever speaking to and then leaving the room. We have to integrate and sit together.
So-
and I think they'd feel more comfortable too, based upon his response.
so then let's amend this one. I don't know how to amend it. If, Aaron, can you help us amend it, please?
Something to the effect of that it's, I would put the state or CSU model and the Harwood model to include open discussions with everyone, no one leaving the room type.
Right,
thing.
more roundtable discussion.
And the city manager might have something to say too.
That there's not really speakers that are outside of sitting within the round tables together.
City
Does
manager.
that make sense?
Yeah. So appreciate the comment and the sensitivity. I'll say that that audience for that particular item was a little bit sensitive to the police. And so there was an attempt to lessen that by having them not be there. They're in uniform, and then everybody's going into breakout sessions. You know, it's felt that might not encourage them to not speak. So there was a very situational related decision on that one. It's not something we normally do. So to that, I'd
So-
say it's a lesson learned. I think we found having the police remain worked well in future ones for us. I think that's more of a model that we need to look at. And that's a modification to more to the moderator and how the meetings run, not the Harwood process.
So then let's amend that in a way that doesn't reflect any specific model, because some things might fit, some things might not fit, but to be the most productive for everybody, right?
Format.
Or implementing models that are appropriate to the audience size. as
Yes.
well as the needs of that audience.
Yes, I like that. A discussion there.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. So it's specific to the audience, that's basically we need to add that, a model appropriate and specific to tailored to the audience at the,
Don't contact me.
everybody contact Aaron.
I have your cell phone number now. We're friends for life. I'm just kidding. I mean, maybe. Okay, so then after Jeffrey gets through with this, we'll continue on. We have 25 minutes left, so I just want to make sure we're checking in and getting through these, but having enough time for everyone to get their voice heard. Again, I want us to have a really successful presentation. So if you aren't in agreement or need a change, speak up, please. All right, code of ethics. Anybody?
Well, when you're down to number 6.
4.6, okay.
In line 2,
Oh, where did it?
sorry about that.
Was that on a different one, a different topic?
Is it 3?
It's on what page are you on? Page,
You were talking
10.
about.
okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm later on page 24, so.
Okay, not there yet. Okay, so on
Commissioner
page,
Shaw might have something to say on this page.
yeah,
Yes.
yes, please.
My only, there were a couple things, and I'll wait till we get to page 24 about some of the, but I would say just for 4.1, adopt and sign the ethics document containing the appendix of the report immediately or something, because I feel like sometimes these things get kind of, won't rehash what we said before, but this is really simple stuff. I mean, that this is not, it's not a heavy lift for them to adopt something like this, like right away. And so I want to make sure that that's noted.
So just add a language of probably just adopt this, sign this ethics document in appendix A,
Or some version thereof.
or a synonym, or not a synonym, whatever, other than the word immediately, because immediately,
Barrett.
yes, Commissioner Barrett.
So totally agree, but I would also like to tie the survey into the reason for the code of ethics, because I think we need to just highlight that the city survey, or our survey revealed that city council has been a major contributor to the breach of trust in the city. And these are the specific things that were identified. And there's a list of them in the meat of this, but that this code of ethics would address all of those. I'd like to see that, not only the pillars, but also supported by the survey.
Mhm.
You know, when our city leadership is the biggest perpetrator of breach of trust in the city, we need to tell them why we're recommending that they adopt a code of ethics.
And this is not the time to mince our understandings and our feelings. This is the time to say it like it is.
So recommendation to that, if we were to add something, would be in that first paragraph before the recommendations. Add some sort of language, right? This is the code of ethics came directly between the CTCs.
Well, on page 28, I believe it is, it starts 29. It starts listing the specific issues with city council that our survey identified 315 comments having to do with city council, and they were around the areas of, and list them. I don't think we need to go into personalities again, but list the immaturity, religion and politics, and professional,ism, integrity, transparency,
So
infighting.
that's on page 28 in the appendix.
You know,
List those in the
and that,
appendix.
and maybe even just refer to that appendix page on, the breakdown of, please see the breakdown of city council related comments. And this led us to the idea that a code of ethics could address all of that for the entire council.
Well,
In their,
your
Leadership
survey results.
and leadership.
Well,
reflects that.
without getting too kind of in the weeds on this, because I agree with Commissioner Barrett and I think part of I think what I'd like to be able to say is, it's I think part of what kind of when we started the idea of the code of ethics was not it's in part as much to define the behavior that we'd like to see or create the norms that I think are appropriate and demand the residents. And I think that was reflected in, or the standard was not being met in part based on the comments that we heard from the survey, and that the survey reflected the fact that there's a lot of people in the community that don't believe that they're meeting that standard that we're hoping to set, or something along those lines. I don't want to get into it the
so
comments, but I think Commissioner Barrett's point is well taken. That I think
yes,
to be grounded in the fact that this came from a
City, sir. So I would put that, here's my thought suggestion. This is the Community Trust Commission established the 8 pillars of trust as a basis for establishing standards and developed a code of ethics for accountability within the city of Loveland. Please see appendix, whatever, survey results. That's how my suggestion would be, if that makes sense.
sorry, is it Catherine Bullard? Were you speaking?
No, Catherine,
Okay.
Commissioner Barrett.
Really quick, so we've addressed a survey above, so in the survey portion, can we just be more clear that all of the recommendations came from this, also the survey plus all of our other things that we've done?
I'm fine. I mean,
I'm just,
We could reiterate it here, but if it's set up there first, then it would be easier to reiterate, I think, personally.
yeah, I think, so I think both could be, I said, and establish the code of ethics for accountability within the city of Loveland. I think if we just add that in that first paragraph.
Again, and I would like to see specifics mentioned, just with our survey identified concerns regarding city council, specifically serving public interests, fighting lack of transparency, lack of integrity. All of the issues that were identified on page 29, see page 29, can be addressed by a code of ethics. And I won't say more because I've said that 3 times. I apologize.
Can that be can that verbiage be attached to the appendix? But adding the last sentence of that paragraph, the code of ethics contained in this is intended to reflect the pillars of trust. And okay. I'm just thinking somewhere in that sentence, we could add based upon our survey, but put those specific examples in the appendix to keep that part really nice and clean and short.
And just to clarify, in the appendix is the full raw language and everything of the survey, correct? So they will
Yes.
have it. Because I thought we gave them to, did we give them to, just clarification, the very first one we missed our deadline, was that in there? And their packet from there, it was, wasn't it?
They received everything.
Yeah, so they have all the raw data and all that, right? All the specifics and everything from the Tuesday night that we missed our deadline.
Well,
And here.
and we could even add that that wasn't just our survey, that was the city's survey, there are a lot of comments.
There are, but I wouldn't add the
Similar.
city survey into our report.
We could mention it during our presentation, but yeah, probably wouldn't add it in their report personally.
I'd like to go back to what Commissioner Barrett started off with.
Okay.
And I don't remember what you said, but because we found that these things were lacking, and this is why,
So we just need to put in there that the city surveys prompted the code of ethics.
CTC survey, yes.
Yeah, the CTC survey, yeah, prompted the code of ethics.
Yeah.
So just,
Why not the city, the CTC survey identified areas of specific concern, including blah, 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 blah. And a code of ethics would address those. I mean, what is the what is the objection to that being right there?
Add that sentence right before the code of ethics?
20 words or less.
Only to kind of back up what Chair Mayor was saying, because we addressed the city survey in a separate area. Which I think we state that in that city survey area.
CTC survey.
Yes?
So I was just reading the last sentence. The code of ethics contained in this is intended to reflect the pillars of trust and establish a standard by which the actions of elected officials. Okay, now when I read the whole sentence, because I was like, oh, you could just slide in it right there. But I'm gonna be quiet because we only have 15 minutes left too. I was gonna say that.
That's really, I think if you can come up with some language, because what I like, I mean, if we could say that the intent and the effort that we're putting forth is supported by the survey findings, that it's that grounded in clearly that we're not doing this kind of just for the fun of it. We're doing it because a lot of that was fun. Because I agree. I don't think that this in and of itself is going to solve any ethical, but I do think it's going to create at least a baseline for which you can be held accountable going forward. And I think that was the intent. So I agree with, if you want to, for however you want to word it,
So if we can include in there, what I'm hearing is that the code of ethics basically came up because of these reasons, plus the survey results that we received. In some way, include that. Would that be good for everybody?
and then just reference the appendix, I think.
Yeah, and then point people directly to that. Here are the results we received.
Right, so just saying the 8 pillars of trust and the areas of concern that were identified in the survey.
Cool. Yeah, we can add that there, and then in the upper survey part, I think we should maybe include our ethics conversation. But let's keep rolling with our 15 minutes. Again, if you had links that you use subcommittees for your recommendations, or you just generally think they fit in with what we need, send them on to us so that we can add them to a list for the.
I sent.
Awesome.
Hopefully-
Awesome.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else here? Great. So we're to the appendices.
Commissioner Swiger had a comment, sorry.
Oh, Commissioner Swiger.
Did we, and maybe when we first started talking about this, I know we have timeliness in here. Were we more specific on our code of ethics and having it be?
Jeffrey put in a note there that we add the word immediately.
Immediately.
Immediately, okay.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
And remember, so we've made recommendations in the past and they've all been at study sessions where there was no action available. So this is the time we actually have the ability to ask them to do actions. So that's why these are all action words.
In this appendix, because we changed, didn't we put immediately after recommendation 1.1 with Pcap? We would need to add it there too.
Oh, good.
Cool.
Chairman.
The comment, sorry, he's in the corner.
Yeah, just a quick one. We got to remember that when we talk about supported by the survey results, we need to be clear that it's the CTC survey
Yes,
results. since we
CTC
have-
survey results, yes.
So anytime we're talking about survey results
It's
throughout the whole
CTC.
document, we need to make sure that we're identifying CTC versus city survey.
Very good point, because they're
Thank
gonna be
you.
talking about that night too, so.
Patrick just checked in and let me know that anytime we have made a wording change in the first part of the document, he will automatically go through and change it in the second part, so we can be a little bit quicker on the second part and keep rolling. So we've already said a word, he's got it, he's got notes. Clearly he's good at this, so. All right, anything here? 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Great, cool. For 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, and 7. Awesome, great, good stuff. Anything here on the next pages? Very good. Anybody?
Nothing so far?
Awesome. How about you guys just shout when you do have something? We'll just keep scrolling.
Okay.
Oh, I
so
see.
Oh, I might.
Yeah.
I was at
Sorry.
2.2. I'm sorry. I think.
No,
I
that's-
got-
Oh, we're good. So
Okay,
anything, anybody have anyone?
So the committee of stakeholders, like, would that be a place that maybe we put in residents with,
On 2.2?
yes, rec 2.2.
Okay.
Co-responders.
Just to clarify, the stakeholders should include residents under 2.2.
Okay.
No, you're,
That's fine.
So in this list. Tara,
yes.
okay. So if we could add residents. Cool. All right.
On page 20, residents whom needs to be residents who, things like that there.
We're at,
Where's
Back
that?
to, back to 2.2, back up there for a minute. I just caught something I didn't see initially. What is TVSD?
I said it was Thompson Valley School District, but it is just Thompson.
I think it's just TSD, is Thompson School
It's
District.
just TS. That was on.
So we need to take the V out of there, Thompson School District.
It has.
Or
to
yeah,
do-
just spell it out. Just say Thompson
Let's
School
avoid
District.
acronyms at all costs.
yeah,
Spell it
Right.
out. That's all.
And maybe spell out hot.
What? Oh,
on the second bullet point, yeah.
What is hot?
Well, that's
Great
the
question.
homeless outreach team. Am I correct? city
Homeless
manager?
Outreach Team.
I just know El Silka always talked about it being the hot. He was in charge of the hot.
okay, we got it.
Checking in quickly, we have 7 minutes left. How's everybody feeling? Are we gonna get through this on time? Is there anything we need to discuss extra? Do we need to extend the meeting?
Can I move to add in 15 minutes
You
to
can.
the
I gotta
agenda?
leave at
Or
8:30.
more.
All right, so there's a motion to extend for 15 minutes. Do I hear a second?
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Everybody but one.
All right, motion passes.
Work.
I have to be out at 8:30.
I can manage if somebody can point out hands that I miss. All right. Okay, let's keep it rolling. Anything
Just, hey,
else?
just a point of clarification too. Okay,
Yes.
as we start with, hey, city manager said on the word hot that they would come up with language for that.
Okay,
Okay.
So I was reminded I need to make some correction in what I said earlier. We have the community engagement survey on tomorrow night. Your item is on the 20th. I keep getting my weeks mixed up.
Mixed up,
So
okay.
we'll have the full presentation on our survey tomorrow night.
At
And
city
then
council.
that will, in a week later, will be the item of this.
so city council will be aware of the city survey. So we
Prior to
can reference it with them having knowledge about it. Cool. All right, carrying on down. Anybody else have anything to change? On here? Great.
My comment on page 20. Whom?
Page 20.
Who?
Boom. Where, what,
Right here.
right here?
Residents whom? It should be residents who.
Got it.
And I'd be happy to do some proofreading. Really happy. Okay.
All right, anything else? All right. Cool, keep going.
If I don't see any hands.
Awesome.
So on the code of ethics,
Yes.
I put together, I mean, well, I didn't put it together. Mike Scholl put together a code of ethics. Commissioner Vic updated it. We refined it in a third meeting with all of us there, and I tried to put together an entire document that included all of our thoughts. And I corrected some inconsistent capitalization and some grammar and did everything perfect. And this, what's here is completely different. How did that happen?
So Patrick probably got the whatever. I bet you Patrick got the middle copy. So
Okay.
I'll make sure that Patrick
So,
gets.
because the only problem I really have with this, other than
Oh.
some grammar and inconsistent capitalization, the only problem I really have with this is that it talks about if there is an ethics or if there's a conflict of interest, that it should go to the city attorney. And then
Hey,
if the
Catherine.
city attorney is involved, go ahead, what?
Could you please just send us the most updated version? He just said he didn't receive the most recent one and that
Okay.
would be easy to
sure.
swap out. So then if subcommittee, were you all on board with that?
Yes.
Cool. Then if that's an easy switch out.
Can I ask just a quick question about that? No, the only one thing is the conflict of interest. And I think the language, I'm probably fine with it, but I'm just a little concerned because that conflict of interest is one area that's specifically addressed by the city charter. And so whatever we put out will be subordinate to the city charter. And related to that specific point. So I just want to make sure that we're not trying to. So we just, however, so it's fine. That's my only.
So
point.
we talked about one of the most important pieces of this was to have a code of ethics committee, an ethics committee. Wouldn't a conflict of interest, if there were a committee, wouldn't a conflict of interest go to that committee? Despite the way it's done now, if they created a committee, code of ethics committee, wouldn't it go to them?
I would defer to the city attorney.
City attorney, please, if you have thoughts on this real quick.
I would reiterate what Commissioner Scholl has said, and that is, to the degree there's any conflict with the charter will always prevail.
So basically how that would work out is that, yes, that would go, the conflict of interest would go to the committee would research it, investigate it, find out what their findings are through that committee. But it would have to their decision would have to line up with the city charter, which is already addressed code of our conflict of interest issues.
Okay.
So yes, our intent of it going to the committee and being brought forth and investigated will happen.
Mhm.
They just can't override the city charter.
Okay.
So if you could please send that over, Catherine, then latest version, we'll replace it and that'll be good to go. Cool. All right. So anything else on ethics?
On number 6. If I'm correct, yes, on the second line, it should be handy, comma, with a small r. Otherwise you have an incomplete sentence.
Yeah, so those edits will probably be when,
When we get the updated version.
yeah, Commissioner Barrett sends the current
Right.
version.
Cool. Cool. Correct.
In what I saw, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, what you saw was the middle version or the one draft before it was all edited and,
Okay, I
tightened
have
up.
what you had done.
Yeah.
and-
yeah.
I have it right. here.
Or Commissioner Barrett went through and fixed my
Okay.
Can we just get
great
together
10 o'clock
after and
typing.
You can tell me. what you think is-
Cool. All right. So
I have to go.
thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Shane.
All right. If I miss you, please
So
don't.
Commissioner Scholl has. a
I have
comment.
one more on page.
Yes.
Getting on the code of ethics. The one, it's just a minor thing, but it says on the second sentence of the first paragraph, it says, each city council member will post the signature page of the ethics document. I think it should read, they will post the signed ethics document, not the signature page.
Mhm, okay.
Where is that? Or it sounds like Commissioner Barrett, you got that change and it'll be part of the version you send.
The second sentence on page 22 in the first paragraph, where it says, we'll post this, I think you should say we'll post the signed ethics document, just minor, but
That's good.
Okay. Catherine, did you have that in your version?
I will fix it if I do.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Alrighty, so onward, we have the documents and sources, like I said. If you could just send in any additional links you have, that'd be great. We've collected these so far. And we've looked at 100,000 documents, I swear. So we won't add all of them, but anything that is relevant, we should just add on and they can look at them if they so choose.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yeah.
Kathy, this is Kathy Bullard. I totally forgot on number 2. I mean, what group is number 2? Okay, on the introduction to the co-responders, and I don't have a page, I'm sorry, but it's way up. Thanks.
I think it was.
With the recommendations page?
No, way back, it's. Okay. Okay, as I looked at it, it looked like that the first paragraph was not in sentences. And so maybe something to say that something about these are bullet points or something, but to modify that, just to do that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so some wordsmithing there on that first paragraph.
Yeah, no need to change anything, just to add something, these concerns are, and maybe change punctuation at that point. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, we'll work on that one.
Yep.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody have anything else?
Commissioner Hillebrand, show.
All right, Commissioner Hildebrand. So,
So I just picked, and it was my mistake that I just saw, but in the communication and engagement intro, like page 9, the very last sentence, I have professionals and citizens as government. Can you change citizens to residents?
Where are you?
Like the word citizens. So I usually try to catch it, but I didn't catch that one.
Where are you?
So it's the last sentence of communication and engagement, just the intro part on page 9. In the very last sentence, actually, it's the first word on the last line.
Everyone
Citizen.
good?
You could change it to residents. Yeah, that's like I totally missed it.
Cool. All right. Anybody else? Great. We have subcommittee updates on our agenda. Is there anything special the subcommittees need to report? Since we already spoke about the Ray Mendoza Award, I feel like that was the only pressing subcommittee update. Am I missing any? No? Awesome. Okay, cool. Check. We do have a slide deck made. It is the same information pulled from the report. We will be presenting that to you guys on Monday. Would you like to look at it right now? Or do you trust that it will be okay?
You'll be presenting it to us on Monday?
Yeah, we have a meeting on Monday.
Right before? Okay.
Yeah, so this will all be finalized on Wednesday and sent in to city council so they have it, so it's done. You've already agreed that you trust me on this report part. The slides, we can look at them now, if you so choose, or you can trust me to have them done. They all have to be turned in on Wednesday. Gary, I see your hand up, Commissioner Draith, sorry.
I just, on the slide deck, I just have a little concern that
Yeah.
Is our CTC survey results part of that slides?
Yes.
Like 27, especially, I think it's page 30, so that there's a slide that'll be up on the screen at that meeting Tuesday.
Yeah, that graphic will be included and a quick overview of the survey. It is important to everything we've done, so my goal was to include it.
And
Okay, look at there.
it's important that, you know, if it's just in the packet, only council sees it, but it needs.
Yeah, so here's,
A meeting so the public can see it. Thank you.
this is the slide. Everybody can look and see. Jeffrey shared his screen again. So this is the slide, and then we will speak to how it has affected what we've done.
No, I'm concerned about page like 27, 28, 29, 30. I think they don't come out. Are those slides? I don't care so much about that, but I think it's important for the public to see a slide that shows exactly accountability, culture service, go through all of these metro districts. I think that stuff's important for the public to see. And if it's not on a slide at the council meeting, only council members, I'm referring to this one here.
The city survey?
No, our
Our
survey,
CTC.
where we came through, we got this nice chart and it says total for city council, 20 positive, 315 negative. And then below that, it talks about the charter, the clerk, the library, homelessness, and then it specifically mentions the counselors. That's the information that the public also needs to see. We have to figure out how to get that out to the public.
I agree. Kathy Bullard, I agree.
Is that what we included in our last packet? Because we can pull that information.
I mean, but
It's
it has to
in
be a.
it's in your presentation tonight, page 27, 28, 29, 30.
Okay. Great. Then we can include some more.
In the slides, because
Yeah.
I would agree with Commissioner Draith there.
So that's
Okay, so adding additional, this thing,
all those pages, exactly.
cool. So are you seeing what's on the shared screen there?
Yes.
Okay, so if we could include this as well.
So where would you include that in your slideshow presentation?
Right at the survey results discussion.
Okay.
They will, again, they'll receive this packet on Thursday when they get their packets. So they'll have this in written form in that packet, and then we can share it with the public.
How long is your slide presentation?
We were given 1 hour, including comments, questions.
Okay, so we definitely don't have that time right now, do we? Okay.
No, on Monday, we will, so we'll complete the slides. by Wednesday. We'll send them over. Monday, we'll give this presentation and we can receive critiques about what we're speaking about. We can't change the deck, but we can all discuss, you know, maybe we said something a little bit wrong, or maybe you want to add points that are relevant, then we can do that on Monday, but we can't change what went in their packet.
You do just want you and Vice Chair Vic to be the presenters on this?
What do you guys want? So my preference was Vice Chair Vic and I give the presentation. Catherine, if you would speak to the survey, I thought it was crazy, big part of our whole deal. We're going to give the award to Ray Mendoza, so we don't really have to address that. It happened. They're going to be very aware of that. They will probably bring it up in questions. That's great. I don't know.
But
How would you like to see this go?
would others like to present?
My preference is if the chair and vice chair manage on behalf of the community trust. I just think we only have an hour. It's going to go fast. And so to the extent that we can kind of be very efficient with our time, I think it would be in our best interest.
So
Just
how-
checking. We have 4 minutes left on our meeting.
Just quickly, how are you planning to address questions? Are you speaking on behalf of the entire CDC when you elaborate, or how is that working?
If there's something that is an answer that we've come up with as a group in previous discussion, I'll feel comfortable talking about that. Otherwise, we act as a body, so I will not be answering questions personally. If they want to ask specific questions of individuals, they're welcome to do that at another time. But since we are acting as a group, I think that the best way to manage that is to defer them to a different time so that we can stay on task, explain what we've done, explain the things that we're proud of, and show what we've spent our time doing.
Yeah. Well,
Thoughts?
go ahead, Tara.
This is Commissioner Shell,
Yeah.
and it is just a clarification, because Heart and Soul had asked specifically how to introduce especially Chief Steward. And so for city, because he's interim chief, do we announce him as Chief Steward or interim Chief Steward?
Interim, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess.
City manager, yeah.
Okay, he would be introduced as interim chief steward.
Cool.
You could relay that to Heart and Soul when they announce who's.
Yeah,
gonna-
I'll add that in the notes. Yes. Cool. But yeah, so as far as the presentation goes, again, I will not be speaking for myself. I will try not to speak for the group unless it's something that we've very clearly identified. But we want to end on a high note. That's all.
Well, we have the presentation, and we can say at the beginning that we will not accept any questions until we're finished with the presentation. That's an ordinary thing to happen. And then if they have questions after that, we can figure it out.
Plus, we do have one additional meeting potentially where we can have snacks and stuff. So we could potentially answer some questions together as a group at that meeting
Here, Mayor.
if we want to have it. Yes.
So during the questioning, we each had our subcommittees, and each of us have spent, like Catherine spent most of her time on the survey and code of ethics and among other things, and Ray Mendoza. But in the questioning coming from city council, if at any point you or Vice Chair Vic feel it appropriate to pass that to somebody else on the commission, I would totally be comfortable with that.
I think that's appropriate speaking for a subcommittee that has, again, a specific answer, not a opinion. There can potentially be, as city manager mentioned just before, multiple microphones and chairs. So we can have that option, but I'd like to not give them an opportunity to try to separate us. But 1 minute, further discussion. All right, seeing none, I
Um,
move
uh,
to. Ooh, well,
Commissioner Bullard, with permission, I would write a very brief invitation to each of the other 8 city councilors and make sure they're delivered tomorrow. No, okay.
We can share what we send out with everybody. They should be able to see it. But it is time to adjourn or we'll be over.
Manager's already invited the entire council, no? Okay.
Item, I thought you were going to invite all of them, but if you're only
that's
invited the
what-
mayor,
But only,
she's been
yeah,
that's-
invited, and so
I would agree with inviting, I know we're at time, but inviting the entire council to stand there, not to speak. But-
So quickly, I move to invite the entire
Not
city
the
council.
17th,
Okay,
but
hold on, she has to do a protocol.
We are over time. We're over time. I move to adjourn. I will email the group. We'll make it happen.
Can we move
right.
to extend? We can move to extend again.
3
5 minutes, 3 minutes.
All right, 5 minutes, go. I move to extend 5 minutes.
I second.
All in favor? Approved. Okay, quickly. So, city manager, may we please invite the rest of council?
yeah, Madam Chair, I have not handled the invitations. You've made direct
Okay.
contact with who you want to invite. So my suggestion is that you would do an invitation to all of council. It can be emailed to all of our city council, or if you wanted more personal ones, we have an inbox for all of them here in my office. However you would like to make that invitation, we can certainly make sure it gets to them.
All right,
Commissioner Drive and Commissioner Shell.
I would say it would be okay to send them a notice saying that this event is happening at the Heart and Soul. If they care
This
to
is-
attend, please be there. I don't think we want to target it anywhere, so any of them will expect to think that they are being invited to speak.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. And she writes really pretty invitations.
That's what I was thinking.
And
It
we'll
would
be at council tomorrow. Sorry,
who's,
I'm sorry.
I would think that would be a really nice touch to hand deliver an invitation to each city councilman, because this is supposed to be a unifying, respectful, trusting event. And so I would love for all of the counselors to feel like they are welcome.
But
time out real quick. I missed who, so we need the who, we need a motion of what, when, why.
I will move that
Okay.
Catherine Bullard write invitations to all of city council, including the mayor, and to interim chief steward.
Okay.
And to city manager Adams and to city attorney Garcia to attend.
All right, discussion.
But quick discussion, I don't want to confuse the mayor or chief steward because they're already going to get
they're already
a
invited.
letter
they've been
from
invited.
chair. So I would amend that and just exclude those two because I don't want them to get confused. Maybe just the remainder of city council.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay, so the motion is to extend an invitation to attend an event at by Heart and Soul on the 17th to the other 7 council members.
Mhm. And leadership? Yes?
And leadership. And leadership.
Yep.
if I can make a
This
comment
is-
on that, I have already stated that I'm on a previously scheduled vacation, so I will not be able to attend, but I would appreciate the invitation anyway. And the other thing too is if you make those by hand, we will take, if I get them before 5 o'clock tomorrow, I can put them in the little inboxes of each of the council members and we deliver that down here at the dais. And so they would have them tomorrow night.
Okay, is that, all right, so is there a second on the motion?
Yes, there was.
All right, all in favor?
Unanimous?
All right, motion passes. Okay, now it's time to adjourn. Good night, folks.
Thanks, Sarah.
Good night.